Where has the time gone? Well, for many of us, it has been 13 years since we first stepped foot on York House property, and 5 for the rest. There's no doubt we can still remember reading corner with our parents every morning before kindergarten, or taking our grade 8 entrance exam in this very theater. Throughout the past week, there's been moments where we've been in tears, reminiscing on the bittersweet fact that we no longer have to hide from Ms. Harvey when we were wearing a non-school jacket, or sit awkwardly as Copley makes self-deprecating jokes. But to that, in the now cliche words of Dr. Seuss, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. Family, friends, faculty, and most importantly, the class of 2019, good morning and thank you for joining us on this special occasion. My name is Sydney.
And my name is Isabelle.
And we are incredibly honored to be representing this amazing group of women beside us, all of whom have become our friends and sisters over our years at York House as your co-valedictorians for the 2018-2019 school year. Alfred Lord Tennyson ended his poem Ulysses with the line, "To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield." Indeed, we have done so. We are graduating. I remember thinking today was so far away when we first opened our email accounts in grade 4. We were only 9 at the time, so only halfway until we were to graduate. Yet now, here we are updating our Facebook status, or writing UBC 23 in our Instagram bios, about to spread out across provinces, states, and continents. But as we all head our separate ways next year, we reflect on what has brought us together and what makes us unique amongst this community. We've probably argued for more bonus marks than the entire school combined, and shed enough tears in grade 9, over 86%, to drive our teachers crazy. What can I say? We're passionate, driven, ambitious, and hardworking. People call us keeners, label us whatever you want to. Tryhards, study bugs, overachievers, but we're proud to hold these labels. It's the reason we helped introduce and update pants at YHS, set new YHS sports records, and finally moved our lockers to the first floor after 3 years. Together, we connect through our mutual understanding of the effort and dedication it takes to achieve success, as well as understand and support the fact that success means something different to everyone. Although we strive for different goals, we always celebrate each other's successes. Like in true Dr. Seuss fashion, we look back on our past years at York House, smiling and laughing even in the times that were not our finest. Let's all remember the time Jaden fell off her kayak into the ocean, shall we? Although we were young at the time, our memory of the junior school still remains clear in our heads. It was as we listened to Miss Grills put her creativity on display through a mushroom story that we were inspired to create a fantasy of our own. World Patrol kids taught us the importance of protecting our environment, and sleeping next to the belugas at the aquarium sparked our love for adventure. When we finally received our own lockers and cap cards, even though most of us lost them after the first week, we started gaining a sense of maturity and independence. Watching and caring for our salmon eggs as they hatched taught us the value of responsibility, while the Mac Mumu debacle in grade 6 really tested our patience. However, while our shared experience together in the junior school created memories we'll still cherish years after we leave York House, they, as well as the teachers that guided us, more importantly, instilled within us a strong foundation of core values and virtues. It was as we transitioned from elementary into high school that we truly started exploring who we are individually. Grade 7 was a time where you either stuck to playing apples to apples inside, or were running around out on the playground in a game of firearm. You owned Kick or stuck to Google Hangouts, and you were either the champion of world capitals or One Direction lyrics on Quizzo. Although we had created bonds that connected us all as a family, the small sliver of freedom was the spark that we needed to start branching out from one another, exploring different directions, which is why we were all the more eager to start what seemed like a new life in the senior school.
And now on to our journey into the daunting senior school. Grade 8 was the same year of the critically acclaimed film Frozen, the shiver-inducing ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and the devastating event of Zayn leaving One Direction. I would describe our first year in the senior school as the calm before the storm. We were a bunch of wide-eyed, boy-crazy, ramen-eating preteens who made a few mistakes along the way. For example, I think it's fair to say that present-day Taylor would be hesitant to say many of the things she did in IT8. Can you remind me, Taylor, how does the frost know when to stop? And who knew that Isabelle/Isabelle confusion would cost me so severely when I walked across the stage at prize giving, thinking I was about to receive the Library Skills Award, when in fact, the name called had clearly been Isabelle Gibson. Grade 8 was also a year of learning, which you would hope for considering it's school we're talking about, but not just academically. Some of us, on our trip to Manning Park, put on skis for the very first time, and many of us learned that maybe teachers aren't so perfect after all when Madame Fault took us on what she advertised as being a 10K skate skiing adventure, but turned out to be a 20K round trip in uncomfortably temperate conditions. Grade 9 had no shortage of growth and learning either. For some context, grade 9 was the year of the blood-boiling debate over whether that ugly JCPenney dress was black and blue or white and gold, as well as the year that the Hotline Bling music video led us all to discover Drake's unique style of dance. Speaking of dance, November 2015 marked the best junior dance this school has ever seen. Who would have guessed that the seemingly nonsensical theme of Illuminati would attract such enthusiasm from our grade? Now back to what I was saying about learning. Pitt Lake, just like Manning Park, taught us all some very valuable life skills. For example, we all learned a new way to count. Prior to coming to Pitt Lake, the general consensus was that there are no 4-digit numbers leading up to 20. But Mr. Dahlman's canoe quickly taught us that 1738 fits right into the sequence. Jokes aside, Pitt Lake, for me at least, was the first time we all truly bonded as a grade. The nights spent around the campfire singing along to Stephanie's guitar playing, butchering the notes to I Can't Help Falling in Love with You, is one of the memories I'm sure our grade will never forget. Even though outdoor ed trips are often a great representative of our year as a whole, back at school, grade 9 was just as much of an adventure. In early September, half of our grade got the news via Google Drive that they would be entering their first Cropley class, Socials 9. Mr. Cropley's marking and his Napoleon tangents hold quite the reputation, but even in grade 9, nothing could intimidate the class of 2019 away from reaching their own personal academic standards, which, in hindsight, do seem ridiculous. Now, remember the storm I mentioned earlier? Well, let's just say grade 10 was the year many of us pulled a Dorothy and got whisked up in a tornado of internal academic pressure. Looking back, it almost was like it aligned with the 2016 US presidential election. The worst was just beginning. We learned that we should expect to be assigned 3 tests a week instead of only 1, much to our dismay, and the dreaded week before end of term no longer existed as it started to become the norm. By Christmas, our brains were pretty burnt out. Just like the food shelter Miss Keeley lit on fire during Garibaldi. Pretty sure that was the reason we didn't summit Panorama Ridge, but who's to say? But while it seems like grade 10 only went downhill, there are many ups that kept us going. Leo finally won an Oscar, and Senora Marte's Socials 10 class quickly became one of the most iconic classes in all of high school. The constant petricuchas and fight over whether Manitoba or Saskatchewan was better not only proved our presentation skills, but distracted us from our unsquashable fear surrounding grade 11. And then, it finally arrived. Grade 11. The frightening hype surrounding grade 11, comparable to an 8-year-old's irrational fear of quicksand, was unfortunately not lost on the class of 2019. We crept into grade 11 as if one wrong move would make our whole world go up in flames. Outside of our little York House bubble, things were not going too well either. He who shall not be named was still in office. Everyone was up in arms over Yanny versus Laurel, and preteen boys everywhere were poisoning themselves with Tide Pods, better known as the forbidden fruit. In retrospect, grade 11 could have been much worse. No one failed out, we got the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of being in Comp Civ with Miss Grant, and at the end of the day, all of the crying, the all-nighters, and the overall academic mad dash brought us together and highlighted just how much we care about maximizing our own individual potential.
Suddenly, on the morning of September 6th, we all woke up to start our last first day of school. Grade 12 was upon us. After all these years, it was finally us wearing the yellow blazers, the grad hoodies, and sitting at the back of the stage at assembly. Back of the theater at assembly. But we are not your typical grade 12s. We've probably been the only class that hasn't experienced major senioritis, except for a few of us. And no, leaving your homework to the last minute doesn't count. However, although our goody two-shoes attitude had us believe that missing one PHP or assembly was revolutionary, we still made sure to make the best out of our grad year. From Cece's inhalation of 3 cupcakes to surprisingly win the cupcake eating contest, to our grad lounge polls of what is the hottest M&M, to the bad dancer group's Gangnam Style exits and air bands, our year was full of memories that brought us closer together.
AP classes serve as a reminder that we are all in this together. AP French students will from now on never end a formal email without "Je vous serai reconnaissante de bien vous voir m'indiquer." And AP Calc students will from now on be able to read any form of handwriting after perfecting the art of reading Miss Mousel's scribbles. People always say that grade 12 is the year that time really catches up to you, that it makes you finally realize just how fast the years have gone by, and that could not be more true.
To that, we stress the importance of living in the present, not fretting about the future or regretting the past. Just a couple weeks ago, I was given some food for thought by someone who really inspires me. If we can't predict the future, how do we know that what we have planned for the future will actually happen? With that said, make the most out of the present moment, as it is the sole thing that you have control over. Focus on what you are doing now, instead of letting your mind worry about the exams or business obligations that you have to do next week. Stop wishing that time would slow down or that time would speed up. Don't count down the minutes. Try to enjoy each present moment as it is, good or bad.
As you step out into the vast expanse of the real world, remember that high school is meant to build you, not define you. The time we have spent at York House, no matter how long, has allowed us all to grow into exceedingly capable individuals. But what Sid and I truly want for all of us is that we dive headfirst into our new lives. Make a few or 100 new friends. Find out what small-town Ontario culture is all about. Discover what it is you are going to spend time doing now that you don't have ultimate practice after school. And at the end of the day, don't forget to come back and tell us all about the crazy years you've had, because York House is going to miss you. Our final advice is this. If you are going away next year, whether it be to Victoria or London, England, take a little extra time this summer to soak up the Vancouver sun. Breathe in the West Coast air, envelop yourself in the Pacific seaweed-filled waters, and take as many sunset pictures as you possibly can. In closing, we would like to give thanks to the many people who have shaped us into who we have become. Thank you to our incredible teachers, without whom we would for sure not be where we are today. Over our years at York House, they have inspired us with their infectious passion for teaching and have pushed us while lending us immense support at the same time to become our best selves. Most importantly, they cared for us beyond how we performed in the classroom. They've comforted us when our lives got too hectic for us to handle and given us some of the best life advice that we will remember as we continue on to university. Together, we've created friendships with them that we will cherish for years beyond high school.
To our families, we will miss you more next year than we will admit. Not just for the fact that you help us with our laundry, but because we know that even after a bad day, we are coming home to a loving environment. Thank you for sacrificing hours of sleep and times with friends to drive us to band practices, sport games, or Model UN conferences. Thank you for always doing everything in your power to ensure that we not only succeeded, but we're happy. There's truly no way that we can repay you. Here on the stage this morning, we see future lawyers, doctors, philanthropists, and artists, engineers, CEOs, politicians, and businesswomen. However, when we see these successful women in the future, we will more importantly see friends, sisters. After all, as the word suggests, as the words itself suggest, although we don't always get along, we'll forever support one another in all future endeavors with empathy, honesty, respect, and understanding. Isabelle and I both look forward to watching each of you grow and evolve in this new, unfamiliar stage of life. As author C. Joy Bell C. stated, "No, this is not the beginning of a new chapter in my life. This is the beginning of a new book." That first book is already closed, ended, and tossed into the seas. This new book is newly opened and has just begun. Look, it's the first page, and it is a beautiful one. Congratulations, class of 2019. You did it.